What is this? Human 2.0, the great merge, and media in the brain, and the God delusion. Well, the God delusion is that idea that we will become gods.
Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains, and I can immediately feel, because you all will have implants, and we measure your brain waves, and I can immediately tell you how the people react, or I can feel how the people react to your answers.
Microchips in students' brains to promote intelligence and memory. Well, in other words, to outsource their intelligence, to reduce their intelligence, to merge what was formerly human intelligence into the cloud and the hive mind, backing up our own thoughts and memories on the cloud hard drive. Nanobots will be swimming around in the capillaries of our brains, he said, in order to allow us to have the extension of our brain into what he called predominantly non-biological thinking. Now, you hear an oxymoron in that statement, don't you? Is it thinking when it's no longer in my biological mind?
The amazing thing about these bionic arms is that they are operated by thought alone. Neural signals arriving from the brain are translated by microcomputers, very small computers, into electric commands. And according to these commands, the arms move. Now, just imagine, what if such direct interfaces are used to directly link a brain to the internet? So you can surf the internet just with your consciousness, or to directly link several brains to the same computer, and thereby linking all of them together and creating a sort of interbrain net. If the brain can have direct access to collective databanks and collective memories, in such a situation, one cyborg could, for example, retrieve the memories of somebody else, not to hear about them, not to read about them in a book, not to imagine how this person must have felt, but to directly remember the memories of somebody else as if they were his own. What happens to concepts like gender identity when minds become collective, and when a man can actually remember the memories of a woman? Nobody knows the answer. Two-way brain-computer interface that will allow computers to read the electrical signals of a human brain while simultaneously transmitting signals that the brain can read and interpret and understand.
Yeah, no thanks. I think I'll stay human. I mean, God made us in his image. It is the end of the individual human consciousness. And yes, we are connected. Did you notice when he talked about the upgrade of humans at the very beginning of the clip? The imagery behind him was happy married couple and all these happy human faces. So you've got the human aesthetic and beauty and joy that's used as an overlay and a mask for what is the anti-human agenda. And that's not just bionic arms and stuff. That's great. You know, being able to have somebody use a function like that, that's not changing what he called your identity, your personality, the skills, the memories of other people that you're going to import into your own. Crazy. But they say it's human 0.0. We're evolving into a new species. They believe in evolution. This is just the next logical stage. Now, it's not Harari only. This is Klaus Schwab, the very essence and definition of what is his fourth industrial revolution. Listen to what he says about the fourth industrial revolution.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
So the previous industrial revolutions just changed the technology that we interact with, what we are doing, whether it's steam, electricity, internet. That started to change us a bit, the internet very much so, but he says it's literally going to change us.
Not everybody will be able to upgrade themselves, and not everybody will have access to or have control over the new big data algorithms. Of 8 billion people in the world, the vast majority will stay just ordinary Homo sapiens, and they are likely to lose their economic value, their political power, their control over their lives.
Now, I suspect that there will have to be a good cop, bad cop approach to the resistors of those who will not take part in this system. At first, it'll be, well, your economic advancement and the inequality, and we're here to provide it for everybody. And there's going to be so many incentives and the carrot. But then for those who really dig in their heels, the World Economic Forum's biggest concern, those outside the city, those who just flat out think this is wrong and say, you know what, I'm going to insist on staying human, staying as God made for me to be. I don't philosophically align with you on this, and it would be a violation of my conscience to go there. There's going to have to come a point where they're persecuted. If they don't accept the carrot, we got to bring the stick. Good cop, bad cop. And in which case, this will be a propaganda effort first. There will have to be a way to describe these people as being filled with hate. They are, I'm imagining the phrase already, biosupremacists. They have hate speech toward the silicon life forms that we've all come to love so much and that love us so much. So you can kind of understand how PC will take that direction, because already you're called hateful if you say that a woman who is a woman but feels like a man is actually a woman. You're not allowed to say that in many settings, right? If she says I'm a man, then you have to agree with that, or you're filled with hate toward her, which is not correct. I mean, you could be filled with hate, but just observing biological reality is not a hateful thing to do. It's science. It's reality and truth. Well, the same thing will happen here. Those silicon life forms are fakes. It's not real. Well, you didn't understand. You were some of those hateful people during the transgender movement. This is the transhuman movement. And don't you understand that we are not merely human organisms? We can transcend that, and we can be all of the data that lives on after us immortally. We can be gods because we've acquired the skills and the creative power of God. The lies of Satan are coming, and those who resist may be called those who are practicing hate speech and barred and banned from platforms, and who knows what's coming next. Now think about this, though. If this coming merge, as Elon Musk called it, he said the best thing we can hope for in this battle for supremacy with AI is a merge with AI to try to control it, because there's these sci-fi, futuristic, fearful things of AI, overtaking us and all of that. But so Elon Musk said it's a merge. Now, the merge has already begun. We touch, tap, and swipe our devices. Remember this from the Media Mind? 2,617 times per day. And as you heard, we're already one with it. I mean, it's an appendage, right? I've outsourced my thinking, my information gathering, my collection of facts. So much of who I am, my memory, my navigational capabilities have been outsourced to the device, to the smartphone. We're already merging with it mentally with regard to placing the functions of the brain on this external, for now, device. But if we become so dependent on that, and we go on that slippery slope down into these next steps that they're discussing, it's going to be a seamless transition for most people. You might say, oh, this sounds ridiculous. There's no way that people are going to do that. If you would have shown them the world we live in right now, 20 years ago, and the way that young people function, and the way that children are being raised or not, and the way that we are interacting or not, that the era of social distance would have mind-boggled people from 20 years ago, right? So we're moving that direction already now, because we've come to believe that these smartphones are more important than people, right? So why have so many people? The technological progress, as they call it, seems to just be a law of nature. It's inevitable. If it can be invented and created, it will be invented and created. Maybe we should have asked that before the invention of the hydrogen bomb, right? Don't wait for somebody to ask, hey, wait, maybe we shouldn't go there with connecting all human brains together on this cloud computing brain interface of a society of a metaverse. Maybe all the social engineering, yeah, that too. Maybe all the digital engineering of the DNA and of the amalgamations and all the futuristic weird things that they are trying to do in laboratories and at CERN with superconducting super colliders, and science, so-called, can get way out of control and way out of hand and be a danger not only to human life, but to our very understanding of consciousness and what it means to be a human. So they're going to press forward till that cliff moment where they're taking people right over the edge. But we still have free choice, don't we? Right now, we can choose. We can opt out of some things. We can say no thank you to, like you did when you were listening to Harari. You're like, yeah, I think I'll stay human, right? But for the first time, we do have to ask ourselves, where are we going to draw the line with the use of technology? As Christians, it's always been about, we don't want to consume worldly content, but we can utilize devices and screens and technologies to God's glory. That's awesome. That's great. But the next steps in the technological advancement are going to leave us with more difficult questions, philosophical questions about what it means to be human. And I think with the Luddites smashing the machines and not wanting the Industrial Revolution to come in, and with the Amish saying no to the internal combustion engine, they made decisions and drew lines for themselves and their convictions and said, this is where we will not allow technology to go any further in our own practical lives. Now, the Luddites obviously were destroying things and were activists in that sense and criminal in that sense. But let's take the Amish as the example. They might have been a little ahead of the curve, maybe making some decisions and convictions with a little more sensitive conscience than the rest of us in regard to use of electricity and so on. But the concept of drawing a line somewhere and saying no to some things, they are the model and they are the example. So we've got to look to that Amish example, and we might not have had the same convictions over the particulars, but the same concept of what will we opt out of is going to face us and has begun. And if it doesn't, the suicide of the human soul begins. The end of human individual consciousness and relationships, and as we've known it to be made in the image of God, ends. Maybe that's the end of history if they were to have their way, as Harari talked about it. It's the end of humanity. Now here's some good news. We look at prophetic indicators to know how soon Christ may be coming and how the birth pangs are intensifying. When I say how soon, I don't mean literally date setting. I just mean, it's getting nearer. It's coming quickly. Let's get ready. Here's another indicator. Because will God really let history go on to that end of humanity? We know in prophecy that decisions are made by individuals who are not all in some sort of Borg hive mind. Individual decisions are made for God or against him, for his law or for the counterfeit. So there are some boundaries here on how long history could go on. Another one of Satan's lies. And then you had also from the World Economic Forum, can't leave them out. This is the mouthpiece of the technocracy. They said augmented tech can change the way we live. So basically that last paragraph was saying, hey, we're already using cochlear implants and glasses. So since we're using glasses to augment our reality, why not wire chips right into our brains and have all the tech invasion and merging of our thoughts and our intentions and our lives with tech? So you can see the giant leap that was made there from glasses to merging humans with technology. It's just augmenting us, right? Like glasses have always done.
All of us are cyborgs these days, since our natural senses and functions are supplemented and improved by devices such as eyeglasses and pacemakers and even computers. Computers perform more and more tasks previously done by our organic brains and memories.